UFC 305. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note, Fight Companion, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be live for the entire card. Make sure you tune into it. And let's get into the fights. First one, we have Stewart Nicoll versus Jesus Aguilar. I'm going to go with the hype of Stewart Nicoll to get a win over Aguilar. Now, I recognize that Aguilar has fought a lot better opposition throughout his career. He made his UFC debut against Tatsuro Taira, and he's fought decent names even through the regional scene, and he's taken on guys with good records, and he's on a 2-fight UFC winning streak. He beat Mendoza last time by split decision. I just think Stewart Nicoll's a real good Australian prospect, though. I don't know. I just have to favor the potential that I'm seeing. He does a good job of finishing a lot of his opponents. He has very good wrestling and grappling, and Aguilar has decent wrestling too, but we've seen him in bad spots on the ground. He's been submitted twice in the past. I think Nicoll could be live to sub him up. I just see Nicoll with a higher ceiling. I think he has more potential as a fighter, and you know what? I will say, Australia's got savage flyweights, and right now he is the #1 prospect out of Australia for the flyweight division. As decent as Jesus Aguilar is, and the fact that he has, 3 UFC fights and a Contender Series win, I think he can give Nicoll a hard fight, but I expect Nicoll to find ways to win. I think he lands takedowns. I think he controls a bit on the ground. I think as they mix it up on the feet, it's rather competitive. I could see Nicoll by sub, but I'm really leaning towards the decision. Even though we've seen Aguilar teed up before on the ground, and Nicoll's control is good. He's also got nice ground and pound. And I think ultimately he's the better grappler and the better wrestler than Aguilar. So we're going with Nicoll to win. Now, he is a -235 favorite. A little bit wide of a side, +200 for Aguilar as the underdog. I kind of get why some people might be jumping on Aguilar. They're like, yo, I want to throw down on him. He's got UFC experience. He's 10-2, and Nicoll's unproven. He hasn't really fought anybody good. Fair points for sure. But I will say the way he's beating up the guys on that Australian circuit is impressive. And to me, the way he's finishing the fights, even if it's not super high competition, is reminiscent of somebody who's going to do well at a high level. And I think beating a Jesus Aguilar is pretty likely here for Stewart. So Stewart Nicoll to get the win, submission or decision. I'm hoping for a sub. I think it's live for a sub, but Aguilar, definitely a scrappy guy. Not easy to finish, but he's been in bad spots on the ground, and I think Nicoll's top game is better than a lot of the guys that he's beaten. So we're going with Nicoll. Next fight on the card, Kenan Song versus Ricky Glenn. I'm going with Kenan Song all day long. Listen, he's dropping down to 155. He's fought all the way up at middleweight in the past, so it was interesting to me seeing him at 34 decide to make the cut. Definitely weigh-ins are something to consider. I want to see how he looks on the scale, assuming he makes weight. But Kenan Song is pretty good on the feet. He's definitely a lot more powerful than Ricky Glenn. He's a lot faster than Ricky Glenn. His striking game is substantially better, and I don't think Glenn has the offensive wrestling to threaten Song much. And I'll go as far as to say I think Ricky Glenn is washed. I think he's a little bit washed, man. Like, look at recent fights, bro. 1 win. Joaquim Silva, he caught him with a big flurry 3 years ago. Kevin Aguilar lost. Okay, he drawed with Grant Dawson. Dawson looked terrible late. Yagos knocks him out. Dober knocks him out. It makes a lot of sense to me that Kenan Song dropping down to 155 carries with him some big power and is going to be able to outstrike Glenn. I mean, Glenn's got okay stand-up. He's long. He's kind of rangy with this style, but he's a little bit slow with the hands and a little heavy-footed at times too. He's not that athletic. He's a southpaw, but I think that could get him caught with a big straight by Kenan Song. And ultimately, I think Song's boxing is substantially better, man. He can rip at the legs, too, and he can land big shots upstairs. I know it's his debut at 155, and he's nearly, 35 years old, but I think Kenan Song finds a way to pull through with the W. So I'm going Song via knockout. I think he puts Ricky Glenn to sleep. And yeah, I don't think Glenn's his level, bro. I don't think the striking is even comparable. Song -192. As long as he doesn't look like a dead man inside of the cage because of the weight cut, I think he's good to go. Glenn plus 167. I would say I like under 2.5, but we don't have that there. It's plus 114 for an under 1.5. Kenan Song at 155. I think that he thrives, and I think he destroys Ricky Glenn. Glenn's coming off back-to-back knockout losses. There was moments for Song against Kevin Jousset. He dominated Bedoya in their fight. He dropped Ian Gary in their fight. There's been good performances by Song, and I feel like maybe the weight cut is a smart decision. I mean, we don't know until fight day. We don't know how he's going to respond at 55. You could end up looking horrible. But from the skill sets that they both have shown in UFC fights in the past, I think Kenan Song's en route to getting a knockout win. So I'm going to pick him by KO. Next fight on the card, Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. I'm going with Tom Nolan. I am, but his chin is suspect, and it's not so much his chin, right? We look at guys and we consider them to be glass-jawed. I'm not saying that he has a steel chin by any sense of the word, but what I feel like the problem with Tom Nolan is he lacks head movement, and he has an upright style and is relatively tall. Actually, no, he's extremely tall for 155 at 6'3". That overhand and looping shots from shorter guys can be a problem. Now, luckily for him, he's fighting Alex Reyes, who hasn't won a fight in how long? In almost 7 years, and it wasn't a UFC fight. His UFC debut, he got chinned by Mike Perry, and then his comeback UFC fight, he got knocked out in the first round 10 months ago, almost 11 months ago, by Charlie Campbell. Tom Nolan should definitely dominate. He should sleep Alex Reyes, but you just have to worry that Nolan gets caught with something weird, because, he's a little defensively inept, but it's not like Reyes has this great boxing game. Okay, hooks. Listen, the only way Reyes wins is a lucky looping shot that catches Nolan and flatlines him. This should be an absolute annihilation. Tom Nolan, knockout. He can win this fight wherever he wants, really, but I think KO is likely. His striking is good. He hits with a lot of power. Defensively, very flawed. But, bro, it's Alex Reyes, man. I don't think Alex Reyes follows his brother Dominic to victory and snapping a losing streak. Instead, I think Tom Nolan pulverizes Alex Reyes. Minus 1,000. Great odds, yeah. Minus 1,000 sucks. Alex Reyes plus 700. Probably under 1.5, minus 350. If this fight gets into the second round, I'm surprised. This should be a 4-minute fight. And I think Tom Nolan puts pressure on Reyes early and completely melts him with big shots. It shouldn't be close. We have a prospect in Tom Nolan versus Reyes, who in most cases, if it's not for his brother, he would have been released from the UFC long ago. So we're going with Tom Nolan, knockout. He's sleeping Alex Reyes in the first round. Next fight on the card, Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns. You got to pick Jack Jenkins to destroy Herbert Burns. Burns is a scrub, guys. I'm going to say it honestly. Herbert Burns has awesome jiu-jitsu, and he's good at that sport. Stick with jiu-jitsu. He is not an elite MMA fighter. He's not a relatively high-level MMA fighter. He's actually a very breakable fighter. You have seen numerous times. He starts okay, falls apart as the fights go a little longer. He's a one-round fighter. If he doesn't knee you in the face in the first round or get your back and strangle you in the first round, he is absolutely done for. He's lost 3 fights in a row. You can see Julio Arce destroyed him last time and broke him. He quit against Bill Algeo. It was embarrassing. And Pineda beat the shit out of him. Jack Jenkins, his only UFC loss is against Chepe Mariscal, and Chepe's an absolute gangster. Chepe is the exact opposite of what Herbert Burns is. Chepe is all heart, dog, doesn't quit, good gas tank, in your face, throwing hard, ready for 3 hard rounds. Herbert Burns is ready for 2 easy minutes, and if he ain't getting you out of there, he's cowering down. Jack Jenkins is going to beat the shit out of Herbert Burns. He's going to absolutely destroy him. Jenkins won the first round against Chepe. There was good moments for him there. He's a good prospect. Herbert Burns has no chance in this fight. He's getting absolutely destroyed. Jack Jenkins is essentially a lock. If he loses this fight, I don't think MMA makes any sense. Herbert Burns has no shot. Jenkins to win. Minus 600. Yeah, it's going to happen. Under 1.5, minus 120. Probably under 1.5. But I think Jenkins inside of the distance, or even Jenkins by KO, I would say that's a lock too. No way that Herbert Burns survives on the feet with him. And I don't think Burns has good enough wrestling to consistently get Jenkins down. The way Burns wins this fight is he blitzes him early and catches him with some weird shit. That's not going to happen. Burns has low confidence. He hates getting punched in the face. I mean, nobody likes it, but he, of all fighters, absolutely hates getting hit. He cowers down to hard fights, and we've seen it time and time and time again. He's got no shot here. Jack Jenkins, showcase win. Herbert Burns is a can in this fight, and he's being used for a showcase matchup. I'm telling you right now what this is. He's a complete opponent that's just there to make Jack Jenkins look good and find his comfort back in the UFC. We're going to say Jenkins, knockout, and he's going to end Herbert Burns' MMA career. That's the prediction for this one. Hot take. Next fight on the card, the ladies going after it here. We got Casey O'Neill versus Luana Santos. I'm interested in this fight. Now, I am picking Luana Santos to get the win. I think Casey O'Neill has been one of the more overrated female prospects of this modern era. I was not impressed by her against Roxanne Modafferi. And then she got dominated by Jennifer Maia. And then I remember I picked Lipski over her, and Lipski subbed her up. Casey O'Neill's had some knee injuries, but like nothing about her skill set, really, when you dig into it, has ever been that impressive. Like you can say, oh, she's young. She's got a lot of potential. I guess, sure. Split decision against Roxanne compared to the modern era of girls isn't a good look. And I think O'Neill is still relatively close to that level. Okay striking, okay grappling. Ultimately, I think that she's nothing special right now, whereas Santos on the other side is a more serious prospect. I take her seriously. She got good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She's physically strong. She's got a good judo base. She's got nice throws, which are going to be a problem for Casey O'Neill. And the striking game of Santos isn't bad either. The culmination of all of those skills, I think she's en route to getting a clean win. It's more about how does she get it done, because I definitely think Santos is winning the fight. Last time out, she subbed up Agapova quickly. It was a month ago. That was quick. Holy shit. Good turnaround. I know she jumped in on short notice, but she's young. She's ready. Agapova's horrible, though. So, you know, not crazy impressive. Egger win. Decent. She went distance. She out-judoed the judoka in Egger. And then Juliana Miller, the Ultimate Fighter winner, she destroyed. And then, like, you know, Casey O'Neill, as I said, last time Lipski subbed her up. If she's getting armbarred by Lipski, Luana Santos by sub makes a lot of sense here. I'm going to go for a Luana Santos sub, but initially I was leaning for a Luana Santos decision. So ultimately decision or submission would be my, most likely outcomes. But I think Santos on the ground could catch Casey O'Neill in something. On the feet, I think that Santos is a little more powerful than her, and she's just meaner in the stand-up game. And I think she's going to end up landing takedowns on O'Neill. So we're going with Luana Santos to get her hand raised. Sub or decision. Ultimately, money line -170. I don't know. This book supposedly has Santos as a dog, but I don't believe that. And then Casey O'Neill is +145. The over is -240. It could definitely go over, but back in the under in a women's fight, it's a relatively low likelihood because you know how these women's fights be going. Most of the time, we're going over 2.5 rounds. And I think it's very live that Santos gets it on the cards here. I guess I'm having a little bit of a bias towards a finish because I am hoping that in front of a crowd, we get a violent night. So I'm calling Luana Santos. I will say sub, but I wrote down decision, so it could just be the hype of the moment getting to me. We'll see what the props look like when they all drop. Either way, I think Luana Santos has top 10 potential. I think Casey O'Neill is, okay, she's going to stick around. She's not going to get released, but I don't think she's top caliber. So, Santos for the W, representing Brazil. Next fight on the card, featured prelim of the night, Josh Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. I'm going with Josh Culibao. I have been a low-key Ricardo Ramos fan for a while now. Okay, guys? So, if you don't follow the channel, you don't know. I've liked Ramos for a long time. I always have seen great potential in him. But unfortunately, he has a peanut brain. And this is just the truth. He has some of the worst fight IQ I have ever fucking seen in my life. Okay? Technical abilities are fine. Potential is there. But whatever's up top is just not functioning right. I don't know what he needs to do to fix that. If you're getting subbed back-to-back and fucking guillotines, leaving your neck out there, Like, come on, bro. He's known for grappling. Ramos has good grappling, right? He's decent. Culibao's powerful on the feet, and Culibao's not an easy guy to bully in the grappling. To out-grapple a Culibao, I really feel like you need some pressure wrestling. Ramos has slick enough jiu-jitsu where he could put Culibao in bad spots. I'm like almost trying to talk myself into picking Ramos. You guys can tell. I like Ramos. I don't know. If my mood really shifts after the weigh-ins, maybe something changes. But I'm like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm a freaking moron, okay? Because the last 2 outs, right, I've picked Ramos in every one of his recent fights. I don't know about the Tuhugov one. I don't remember. But in all of his recent fights, I go Team Ramos because I always felt like he has that Charles Oliveira thing. But man, the mental is not there. Sometimes he throws like these behind the front leg backside kicks to the leg, which is just a useless move. I don't know why he does these things. He leaves his neck out and puts himself in bad positions on the ground. I don't know if it's a self-sabotage. I don't get it. So I think Culibao's better with his fight IQ, and he's honestly pretty good overall. He's got decent grappling defense. He's pretty quick. Culibao's got some pop. I like his striking a lot. Culibao's decent, man. He's got good enough hands to match Ramos. I would say Ramos is probably a better kicker, but I don't think we're going to see Ramos high kick Culibao in the face. Honestly, if Ramos is to win, I feel like he's got to find a way to get this shit to the ground. I know his striking's okay, but he has to put Culibao in a weird grappling position. But Culibao's not easy to finish on the ground. And obviously, like when you compare, like Ramos got ran through by Lerone Murphy. Culibao clearly lost, but like he still went distance and gave Murphy a bit of a fight. I guess it's just ultimately, I feel like there's just more dog in Culibao. Whereas Ricardo Ramos, as good as the skill set is and the talent that he has, he lacks that dog. He lacks that mentality. And unless he pulls a full Charles Oliveira, I don't think he will. I think he's losing. So we're going with Culibao to beat my boy Ramos. Minus 150 for Culibao, plus 130 for Ramos. I think we're going distance. Minus 150 for the over. Probably Culibao on the cards. Ramos can shy away from a brawl. If you hit him with some good shots, you knock his confidence down. If he fails some bad takedowns, he could lose where he's at mentally. He's just too much of a risk, man. So I'm going with Culibao to beat my boy Ramos. Unfortunately, I want Ramos to win, but I just can't pick him in this spot. And then let's get to our featured prelim of the night. Junior Tafa versus Valter Walker. Battle of heavyweights that I think are going to be fighting for the belt in 6 months. I'm joking. Listen, Junior Tafa can fight. Valter Walker can smother you and lay on top of you. So I'm going to lean towards Tafa. He's got okay enough takedown defense, I think, to deal with Valter Walker. He's a lot more dangerous on the feet. Valter Walker is kind of heavy-footed and slow. He's sloppy, man. I just don't think he's good. Lucas Drezhki won a decision against him. It was a close fight. You can say robbery, this is that, but being that close with Drezhki is not a good thing. Tafa, I mean, his UFC debut, right? He lost to Usman, but it wasn't an awful performance. He had Usman uncomfortable on the feet a bit, and then obviously Usman secured some takedowns and stayed on top, but he still was able to stop a decent amount of takedowns. Destroyed Parker Porter, who was a complete can. And then Rogerio de Lima gave him a striking lesson. It's crazy because Tafa comes from the striking base. I think I'm going Tafa, but I won't lie to you guys. This fight just seems like a potential betting landmine because Valter Walker, as much as I don't think he's good, he's fucking huge. 6'6", 264. He's got a 9-inch reach advantage. Like, if Walker can get in on takedowns, Tafa's fucked. Because Tafa's get-up game is pretty abysmal. Tafa's a primary striker-only style. He really is going to have to fend off takedowns because that's all Valter Walker is going to be trying to do, man. I'm sitting on this one and I'm like teetering on the fence, though. I won't lie to you because as bad as I think Valter Walker is, his gas tank is horrible. Tafa has really bad grappling. So you got really a battle of two guys that, in a perfect world, are not in the UFC. I like you, Tafa. You're a fun guy. Valter Walker, I like you, Johnny Walker's brother. But let's be honest. This is not high-level skill set. This is not it. Now, granted, you could say, oh, the young heavyweights, 26, 27. Fair point, I guess. But I'm just not impressed. I lean Tafa because of the striking prowess and the potential for takedown defense, but Valter Walker could just smother him against the cage, take him down, lay him prey, and win a snooze fest of a decision. So I'm picking Tafa, though. Don't get it twisted. We're going with Junior Tafa to win. Now, as far as the odds, it's even. Minus 119 Tafa, minus 101 Valter Walker. Keep me off the bet. Over 1.5, minus 175. I'll say yes. It goes over 1.5. Valter Walker's chin holds up in the first. I could see him getting knocked out late if he's gassed, because his gas tank's horrible and then he's failing takedowns and Tafa's just dropping hammers on him. But yeah, depends on how the first 2 rounds go. But I think Tafa third round knockout is live. I'm going to go Junior Tafa to beat Valter Walker in a pick between guys that nobody should probably be betting on, man. I mean, if the line completely flips and you get, one of them at like plus 150, you can just, chase the value, I guess you could say, because at open, it was plus 135 for Tafa, and then minus 155 for Valter Walker. Interesting. Tafa was the dog at open. There's money coming down. I ain't betting this one. I don't know. I'm not into it, man. I think just sit down and watch. You got low-tier heavyweights. Why do you want to throw heat at it? If the odds were better, if it was like plus 300 for Tafa or something like that, different conversation. Plus 200 even. I'll go Junior Tafa to get it done. But low confidence, man, and I don't know. Let's see at the fucking weigh-ins. If Valter Walker looks double his size, then I'll be a little worried for Tafa. Because if Walter is able to land takedowns, if Walker is able to land takedowns, I think he can pull some shit out of his ass. It's just the Dreshki fight was horrible. Say it's a robbery or not, I guess he could be 12-0, but unimpressive 12-0. Tafa for the win. I want to move on from this damn fight. Next fight on the card, main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Jingliang, the Leech, versus Carlos Prates. I'm going to be picking Carlos Prates. How can you not pick him? I mean, the dude has tremendous Muay Thai skills. He's crisp as hell from the outside. He's very long. He has a decent jab. He works nice teeps. And he also has really nice knees and close. He showed that off against Radke last time out. He's also a southpaw, and he's bringing in a solid 6-inch reach advantage, and he knows how to use his reach. Another factor in this fight is Jingliang doesn't have much of a jab, isn't great with straight shots. His striking style is more of pressure and hooks, but sometimes he's throwing from too far out. And sure, against shorter guys that are less well-versed in the, technical abilities with kickboxing / Muay Thai, you can see Leech landing big punches and things like that. And he's got knockouts, and sure, he knocked out Salikov, but the 40-year-old version of him. I think you just have a too primed version of Carlos Prates, a too technically sound Prates. Leech doesn't really have much of a takedown threat to bring into this fight, so I see him getting caught at the end of punches and kicks for a lot of it. I do think Leech is a good chin, though, so I feel like he can make it to the final bell. So the official pick is going to be Carlos Prates to win this fight by a decision. It's also his birthday on fight day. I don't think Prates is taking a loss on the B day. I think he has a lot of trending upside potential. Leech could have a couple moments, and I know some of you say, oh, but Trevin Giles smothered him up against the cage a bit, or oh, Trevin Giles hit him with some okay hooks. Yeah, he also flattened him in one big shot. I just don't think the Leech at 36 is taking out a Carlos Prates who's really striving his way up in the ranks, man. Not enough of a threat in any other area, because really I think Leech's only chance of doing damage here is boxing. Big hooks inside. But Prates has got decent defense. He's got good long straights. He's got nice kicks. He's got more tools in the stand-up. And Leech is not going to have a grappling option. So he's probably caught on the outside for a lot of the fight, gets hit with some big shots. We'll see. The chin's going to be tested, but I am going to respect the chin of the Leech, and I'm going with Carlos Prates to win it on the judges' scorecards. I see him getting it done. The odds, minus 275. Wow, Prates is a wide favorite. Plus 235 for the Leech. Apologies about not zooming in earlier. I got to go with Prates. I see him getting it done. What is the over? Over 1.5 minus 180? I think it's going over 1.5. It would be pretty crazy if Prates knocked Leech out in general, but especially under a round and a half. I think we're going to go over 1.5 rounds. A calculated Prates outpoints Leech. Some big moments, but the chin of Leech holds up. And I think Prates still puts on a pretty A-tier performance that really builds the hype as he closes in on the, top 15. Beating the Leech gets you a lot closer to. I mean, last time out, Leech lost a relatively bad decision to Daniel Rodriguez. So fight before that, beat Salikov. The Leech is pretty good, man. This would be a massive win. It's going to be nice to have the Leech back. It's almost been 2 years. So at the very least, even though I'm picking Prates with confidence here, I really hope the Leech has a couple of fun moments for the fans, bro. Because you know what? He deserves it. Prates for a dominant win, though. Ultimately, that's the pick. Let's jump to the next fight on the card. The heavyweights going after it. Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I'm picking Tai Tuivasa. I feel like Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a little bit too much of a technician, okay? At times he fights at a calculated kickboxing pace, but when he flurries, and we've seen it, when he starts mixing up a little wild stuff, he's gotten caught. He can get caught. He's been knocked out a few times in the UFC. Tuivasa has big knockout power. Tuivasa has fast hands. Tuivasa has heavy leg kicks. And I do think that Tuivasa is clearly the better athlete between him and Rozenstruik. And the chin of Tuivasa, say what you want about a couple of knockout losses, it's good. Tuivasa can eat big shots. And even if Rozenstruik lands some big ones, I can see him looking to hunt the finish and getting caught. Tuivasa dropped Ciryl Gane. That's still a massive accolade to have. And I think Tuivasa, unfortunately, has just run into some horrible matchups. Marcin Tybura, who he was destroying on the feet, but we know Tuivasa sucks at jiu-jitsu. He got submitted. Alexander Volkov, really good kickboxing, tall as fuck, destroyed Rozenstruik in a round, gets him on the ground, subs him up. Dominance there. Pavlovich ran him over for a knockout, but bro, it's Pavlovich. Ciryl Gane knocks him out in a great back and forth fight though, right? And he turned around too quick to fight Pavlovich, to be fair. But he had a great performance against Ciryl Gane like 2 years ago. And I think even in loss, the stock rose. And unfortunately, now he's on a 4-fight losing streak. I don't think Tuivasa is losing 5 in a row. This isn't the Tony Ferguson redo, okay? I think Tuivasa gets a knockout win of Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think it's going to be in impressive fashion. He catches him with a really big shot and completely flattens him. And I think he's doing a shoey in front of the Australian fans. At home, Tuivasa is a different animal. And against strikers, Tuivasa can do his thing, especially a striker like Rozenstruik, who I think is good, but maybe a bit too average. Little bit too average for me. I think Tuivasa finds the death punch. Tuivasa is a big underdog, plus 188. I like Tuivasa a lot here. Rozenstruik, minus 223. I think we're going to see Rozenstruik get slept here. Under 1.5, minus 175. I think I'd like under 2.5 more. I think a first-round knockout is definitely live, but, we've seen Tuivasa and Rozenstruik both get into the later stages of fights. So you've seen them, go over that 2.5 mark. I think this is a good showcase opportunity for Tai. He's going to snap it back. I'm telling you guys, don't lose faith in the shoey man. We got to have some belief. We got to have a little faith, okay? Say your prayers for Tuivasa. I know I'm going to. I think Bam Bam Tuivasa is snapping the 4-fight losing streak. And I think he's getting a highlight reel knockout of Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Because striking, it's not like Tuivasa in many of the matchups looks bad. I mean, besides the Pavlovich fight, he was destroying Tybura on the feet easily. It's just on the ground he sucks. Thankfully, Rozenstruik is not a grappler. And I think in a striking match between these two, Tuivasa's speed and power is the ultimate difference maker. Expect some big leg kicks. Expect some big punches. Expect Rozenstruik to engage a bit and then get caught with something massive by Tuivasa. Tuivasa KO. Let's go. I can't wait for this fight. This is like the low-key banger of the night for me. Next fight. Featured bout of the night. I hate this fight. Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker. I'm picking Mateusz Gamrot. I'm disgusted. I would much prefer as a fan to see Dan Hooker stop takedowns and sleep Gamrot with a big knee, just flatten him or drop him with a massive straight head kick him. I would love to see Dan Hooker get a violent knockout of Gamrot, because if the UFC was filled with Mateusz Gamrots, there would no longer be a UFC. We would all be boxing and BKFC fans only, okay? The style of Gamrot is simple. Okay enough striking, but his game is chain wrestling, constant Constant takedowns, constant control, constant pressure. Sometimes exhausting to watch. It's exhausting to do, and I respect Gamrot's skill set that he has, but it is not an impressive style. And when you're selling fights to fans, a Mateusz Gamrot style is going to turn everybody into boxing fans, for fuck's sake. Ultimately, the issue lies upon Dan Hooker is going to have a hard time stopping the takedowns all night. Now, Dan Hooker has about an 80% takedown defense rate. Gamrot's not just shooting one. He's going to shoot 5 and he'll land 1, and then he'll secure himself on top and he'll lay and prey on Hooker. Hooker could survive a Gamrot submission threat for sure. I'm leaning towards Gamrot on the judges' scorecards with a chain wrestling attack. But I will say, we've seen Hooker subbed up pretty badly against Makhachev. Granted, I think Makhachev is a different level than Gamrot. It's not impossible to say Gamrot gets a sub here, which definitely is good for Gamrot's stock. If he can go out and get a finish, that'd be nice. A submission, that'd be nice. That'll get me a little more excited for his next fight. I got a bad taste in my mouth with Gamrot after that fucking Fiziev fight. He's celebrating the torn knee finish, which ultimately wasn't even done from, the block of the kick that fucking Dominic Cruz was talking about was the main factor before, obviously we saw the replay and you could tell it was the knee that blew out. So I'm going to pick Gamrot here. But as a fan, we should all be hoping that Dan Hooker dusts him. As a bettor, you're probably throwing Gamrot in a parlay. Minus 324 for Gamrot. Hooker plus 274. Really wide odds. Actually got to see what they opened up at. They opened up at minus 350 for Gamrot. Holy shit. Over 2.5, minus 265. I think it's relatively likely. Gamrot with the pressure wrestling style. Has he submitted anybody really of note? No. He could submit a Dan Hooker, though. But I'm going to say Gamrot chain wrestles his way into a decision that gets the crowd booing and has us all disappointed at home. But maybe the blessings in the air in Australia, and maybe Dan Hooker gets a massive upset. And I will hope that happens. I don't care. I'd rather take the L on the pick than see Dan Hooker take the L in the cage. Because, man, it would be way better for the sport if Dan Hooker sleeps Gamrot and sends him to the shadow realm. Unfortunately, it's not about what we want in fights. It's about what's probably going to happen. Gamrot, unanimous decision. Let's keep running. Co-main event of the evening. Kai Kara-France versus Steve Erceg. This is a great fight. I love this. Australia versus New Zealand. Steve Erceg is going to be my pick to win this fight. He gave Pantoja a hell of a fight, and I think that he is definitely a substantial threat in this fight against Kai Kara-France. Now, Kara-France is a powerful striker. He's got nice kicks. He's got big shots. But, in a sense, to land on an Erceg with a massive shot like he did to a Cody Garbrandt just doesn't seem likely. Erceg actually has some of the best boxing in the flyweight division. He's a very technically sound fighter. He also does have wrestling. Obviously, he lost the wrestling battle to Alexandre Pantoja, but it's Pantoja. There's a different level there with Pantoja as opposed to Kai Kara-France. I think we could see Erceg time some key takedowns. I do think he's going to land some solid shots on the feet. I think the jab is a factor for Erceg from the outside. I don't think Kara-France has the same jab as an Erceg or the same accuracy as an Erceg. I do think that pure power, you maybe favor Kara-France, but he has to walk you into something big. He doesn't just generate it out of his ass, and I don't see him sleeping Steve Erceg. I think in a competitive fight, Steve Erceg takes home a unanimous decision win. I think he's going to land more significant strikes, potentially time some key takedowns, and I think he's getting a W home and winning in front of the Australian crowd. Now, for Kara-France, that'll be unfortunate because he lost a rough decision to Albazi last time, and then the fight before that, he lost to Brandon Moreno. In a 3-round fight, too, I really like it for Erceg. I think he can fight at a calculated but somewhat fast pace, avoid big shots from Kara-France, land his jab, find some key takedowns, have some bigger moments, and win it on the scorecard. So we're going Steve Erceg to get it done. I'm having faith in the Australian. Now, odds for the fight, Erceg, minus 195. Kara-France, plus 170. I think Steve Erceg's got a good chance here. He's too well-rounded for Kara-France. Over 2.5 is super likely at minus 250. I'd be relatively surprised seeing either one of these guys knocked out. Either one of these guys submitted. Both would be a surprising method. You can see, a knockout for Erceg against Schnell, but it's Schnell. Costa decision, Dvorak decision. And, you got outside the UFC subs. That's Eternal MMA. It's like the Australian promotion. I'm going with Steve Erceg. I see him winning. I think he can find his way back in a title fight with 2 more wins or even 1 more win, depending on the timelines. I really am intrigued by a potential Erceg Royval fight. Obviously, Tatsuro Taira and Royval, that fight would be sick. The winner of those versus the winner of this. Like, there are so many badass matchups for Steve Erceg with a win. And I think he's going to get a hard-fought win over Carl Franz. He'll be tested here. Carl Franz is a tough customer, but Erceg will just ultimately do more, and he's going to get his hand raised on the judges' scorecards. So, Steve Erceg for the W. Let's jump to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe it up. Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. The grudge is going to be settled. The beef is going to be settled. I'm picking Dricus du Plessis. I think he beats Izzy. I mean, I went back and rewatched Izzy versus Sean Strickland. I will tell you, it seems that Izzy's confidence substantially dwindled after Strickland rocked him with that straight in the first round. But even prior to that, Adesanya was very comfortable staying off his back foot and just chopping at low kicks, and he really was not accurate to the head whatsoever. A lot of leg kicks and movement. Adesanya has gotten comfortable cruising to decisions. Now, I know the Alex Pereira knockout. Yeah, he beat an Alex Pereira who cut way too much weight. They should run it back at 205. It goes differently, I promise you. Adesanya looked like he was on his way to get knocked out in that fight. Dricus du Plessis fought Sean Strickland, and it was a very competitive and somewhat controversial decision. So what did I do? I went back and rescored the fight. I gave du Plessis 3 rounds. And after the fight initially, I thought it went towards Strickland. But no, I do believe du Plessis was the rightful winner against Sean Strickland. A major factor in this matchup here is du Plessis is also a tremendous pressure fighter, as is Strickland, albeit a different style of pressure. But what he has that Strickland never brought into a threat with an Adesanya fight is not just the stand-up, but Dricus also has good takedowns. And he's so strong. Israel Adesanya on the back foot. Israel Adesanya slowing down a bit in the later rounds. Du Plessis smothering him, landing key takedowns. I'll tell you something about Dricus du Plessis. Incredible gas tank, incredible will to win. The dude is stubborn as they come. Adesanya is going to need to land some massive shots to keep du Plessis off of him. I don't think he's going to have the space to generate that type of power. We really haven't seen a mega impressive Adesanya win where he looked like an absolute masterclass since that Paulo Costa fight. I'll tell you this, the Whitaker fight could have went either way. It was completely competitive. Yeah, he dropped them, which is nice. Nice counter hooks there. Adesanya is known for it. Jared Cannonier decision, he clearly picked him apart, and he just slipped and moved the whole fight. Adesanya is like MMA's Floyd Mayweather. Pereira knocks him out, but it was a good fight. But like I'm telling you, man, it's a flawed Pereira. It was a Pereira that can't take a big shot. And then Strickland broke him down and bullied him. I mean, Adesanya landed a lot of leg kicks in that fight. He didn't get knocked out, but Strickland hurt him with punches, and Adesanya was cowering down. And another thing we witnessed from Israel Adesanya is there was no ability to dig deep and push to like a 3rd or 4th gear. I feel like Adesanya was just in 1-2 the whole fight. He's like, yeah, well, I'm losing, but I'm going to cruise to a decision loss. I'll land some kicks. Oh, there's a decent punch for me. Oh, he hit me with better shots. Okay. No change of game plan. Israel Adesanya is also a fighter that has one way to win. Now, you can say, oh, one way to win, he could get a knockout or a decision. I'm talking about style-wise. Striking. He doesn't have any grappling threat. Du Plessis can land big punches and kicks on the feet. He's a very skilled striker too. Even though it doesn't look nearly as pretty as Adesanya's does, it doesn't matter because the prettiness of technique does not mean the same level of effectiveness of technique. Du Plessis is not a pretty striker, but he's an effective striker. He brings uncomfortable pressure to his opponents. He has good durability. He has an incredible gas tank, and he can land key takedowns. And I expect him to put Adesanya on the back foot, smother him against the cage, land big punches. When the opportunities arise, he's going to land big shots. Time key takedowns, and I think du Plessis is taking it home on the scorecards too. At 35, Adesanya's had his day. Every dog has their day. And I think Adesanya's was a few years ago. I don't think he's that same animal anymore. I think he slowly was starting to fall off. And then the Pereira comeback knockout really, lit a fire under, the UFC. Like, oh, Izzy's back on it. And then Strickland shut him out. Du Plessis is going to want it more. Adesanya's a 2-time champ in this weight class. He's going to look to become a 3-time champ. Du Plessis won't allow it. I think du Plessis, unanimous decision, defends the belt, Key takedowns are landed. Bigger moments for him. He can outmuscle Izzy. It'd be pretty crazy if Du Plessis submitted Adesanya. Depends where Adesanya's head at. Like a prime Adesanya is a different animal. I don't think he's that same Adesanya anymore. Now, he looks in great physical condition. If you've seen online, Adesanya is posting looking incredibly jacked. We'll see. Maybe he's expecting some grappling pressure by Du Plessis and he's trying to be able to shove him off better. But I think Du Plessis, key moments, bigger strikes landed, key takedowns, and I think he's taking home a W in defending the belt in the grudge match. I'm going with Du Plessis to take it home. Plus 105, Dricus Du Plessis, Adesanya minus 125. Since before the Strickland fight, I felt as though Du Plessis was the nightmare matchup. And especially now after it and seeing Du Plessis beat Sean Strickland, he's the guy. He's the guy to end Adesanya, truthfully. Under 3.5 is minus 135. I can see this fight going into the later stages. It definitely can go the full 5. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a decision. I'm going to officially call a Du Plessis decision. I could see a fatigued Adesanya submitted, though. And I think Du Plessis is going to be throwing hard ground and pound anytime an opportunity arises to do damage. But ultimately, Izzy, not an easy guy to put away. Relatively good durability. I'd say very good durability. And even though he may be, a purist striker, we've never seen him submitted on the ground. So I think we're going to see Du Plessis on the judges' scorecards take home a W against Israel Adesanya, defend his belt, and we'll see. I don't know. I actually got to say, if Du Plessis wins and Khamzat Chimaev wins, I think that's the next fight. I think Strickland is not following suit and getting the title shot. If Whitaker wins against Khamzat, then it's a different conversation. Then they may go the Du Plessis route. But either way, Dricus Du Plessis and still champion as an underdog is going to be my prediction between him and Adesanya. Those are the predictions for UFC 305. I'm very excited for this card, as you should be too. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. Drop some of your favorite picks. If you disagree with me, let me know. Especially on some of those close prelim picks. A couple of them that I listed off, I think there's argument to go the underdog side, but it's just too many unreliabilities in certain dogs, like a Ramos or a Jesus Aguilar. I want to hear from the people, so let me know in the comments. If you got nothing to say, if you just enjoy the content, as always, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Make sure you guys smash the likes on your way out, and if you're new to the channel, welcome, subscribe, post notifications on. I got daily content coming, and you don't want to miss it. I appreciate everybody for supporting. Much love. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.